Let's talk about choosing effective assessment. What are effective assessments? Assessment is the evaluation or estimation of the nature, quality, or ability of someone or something. Many types of assessment address declarative knowledge, such as writing definitions to vocabulary words, language translations, memorization of formulas, and reports. Assessments that address procedural knowledge can ask a student to compare and contrast, evaluate, compose, or any other procedure or action word. So why are assessments important? Assessments are a necessary step in the learning process because it will help determine whether or not the taught objectives are being met. Recognizing whether or not the students are learning the material being taught affects their own personal growth as well as guiding how and what the teacher will teach as the year progresses. Assessments help the students just as much as they help the teachers. With assessments, it's important to measure the validity. Does the result of the assessment measure the content of what the child knows from the instructed objectives? What skills does the child need to complete the given assessment? Assessments may be more productive when using varying types while acknowledging appropriate intervals, matching objectives to the assessment type, considering direct and indirect assessment tools, collecting multiple data samples, and revising the assessments as needed. Choosing effective assessments is imperative for having well-designed and effective lessons. The teacher must constantly be assessing his or her students during the day through discussions and quick informal assessments. This is important because then they can use these assessments to direct future instruction, and if the students seem to struggle with the concept that was previously covered, that teacher can take the time to revisit the information to provide for better understanding for their students. One helpful template for creating and executing good formative assessments is asking these questions. Where are you trying to go? Where are you now? And how can you get there? Teachers have a responsibility to use meaningful learning experiences as meaningful assessment experiences, and to choose, design, or adapt assessments that measure how well students understand, not just remember, and apply what they're learning. Not all assessments are created equal. These are examples of great versus poor execution of an assessment. The first assessment is a written note. It says able, can count, cannot pattern. This example is poor because there is no record of the date, time, location, or grade, and we don't know the situation. For example, was it before lunch or was it after lunch when that student might have needed a brain break? We don't know. Would someone else be able to understand this assessment had they not been there? The next assessment is another written note. And this one is great because it includes name, date, time, location, and age. We know that we're assessing Carly. She was in the math center, and she's in preschool. This assessment also articulates what numbers she can count, what shapes she knows, and what patterns she knows. They even give us some data letting us know that 3 out of 10 times, Carly will skip the number 4 when counting to 10. This assessment is easy to read and understand and leaves you with viable goals to work on. In the last slide, we gave examples of informal assessments. Now, we're going to give examples of formal assessments. Formal assessments have data which support the conclusions made from the assessment. Informal assessments are not data-driven, but rather content and performance-driven. The 3 examples we have are a math worksheet, math test, and a self-evaluation for the student to let you know how they think you're doing or they're doing. All 3 of these assessments will give us data to understand where our students are at and what we need to do. Now that we've talked about what assessments are, why they're important, and how to create them, we want to leave you with this quote. Assessment makes teaching into teaching. Mere presentation, without assessment of what the learners have made of what you have offered them, is not teaching.